I guess I'll start now. And hello, everyone. Today I'm going to show you a little bit about the very basic syntax of Motoko. Some things I'll go over are primitive types, functions, and different variable usages, different modifiers for different variables, and then I don't know how to make comments. So just to kind of prime you on some of the topics, this is what I'll go over. And so as a high-level abstraction, this is kind of the forest through the trees. We have something called a canister, right? And the canister is almost like something that holds all the code for your your canister smart contract, right? This is where all the code exists. And in the internet computer, there's actually a bunch of canisters all interacting with each other. But for now, we're just going to focus on one individual canister. And as you can see, it's made of, so I guess in my opinion, there's basically two parts to it. There's the variables, which are essentially properties of this canister. And there's a little more detail. So they can be mutable variables, immutable. They can be viewed or modified directly, or they cannot be viewed or modified directly, but I guess these properties have to be accessed from something called functions. And this is just a specification of the language. So yeah. And then the second part of canisters are something called functions. Now, functions can output some of these canister properties so someone can view them. They can modify canister properties, so to change whatever kind of variables, change any kind of variables, descriptions of them. And then let's see, they can so you can also make functions that do completely random things that have nothing to do with the properties of the canister variable itself. And now there's also something called external variables that you're passing into a canister function that spits out a bunch of output. Now, I'm gonna like make an analogy for my next part, and maybe this will make sense. Especially for anyone I guess who's new to programming, hopefully this will help. So if you try to make an analogy of what a canister is, let's just consider it a person, right? People, we have certain properties to ourselves. We have something like a height. Maybe we're awake, right? We have an age, our favorite TV show, and well, our species. That's a human. But so yeah, I think the best way to think about this, especially for those of you that are new to programming, is to try to abstract this into something relatable to you. So yeah, and these are some of the, I guess, things that variables are, which are, okay, like numbers, like decimal numbers, which is a float, a Boolean, you're awake, you're not awake, that's true, false. Natural numbers, show, your favorite show, and then these are text types, right? So properties or variables of canisters have various types, as you can see. Now, I've linked some of these like variables to documentation, and actually I don't know, maybe I'll share this like at the end of the lecture, this whole PowerPoint with everyone. But essentially, yeah, so we'll start by covering up that entire bottom section and just start with properties, and we'll start coding up some properties so you can see how some of this works. So I guess if you're following along, the first thing we need to do is create a new project. So let's call it like VFX new human, right? I'm gonna wait. All right. And if you're here, I'm assuming also you've got all the setup done already. So you're kind of digging into the code, and we won't go over any of that setup procedure. So we're going to change into a directory. We're going to click clear. And then we're going to move into the source folder where your, I guess, code files are. So we're going to ls and then move into the humans directory. Now we won't be doing any front end work today or for this lecture, so don't worry about that. And cd human, and then you can go into the main file. So I'm going to do neo vim main Motoko. Okay, so here's our, I guess, code interface, and we're just gonna start. We're gonna start by giving, well, this is a human, so we're gonna start giving some properties to this canister. So let's start. Let's see. We're gonna give it a height. So for height float equals 0.0. And let's see, var is awake, and bool, and we'll say, oh yeah, keep it false, why not? And then we'll have an age, var age, int equals, oh wait, so I guess I'll start with saying what the difference between an int and that is. There's integer numbers, which will allow for negative numbers, and then there's natural numbers, which are only positive numbers. Now age, it makes sense. I mean, you're never negative age. So we're going to make that a natural number, and then we'll make that equal to 0. And then I guess just for a side note as well, when you see these 8, 16, 32, 64, this is like the different sizes. If you don't need all the, so essentially, yeah, these are just different sizes of in memory of the integer and natural number types, and that dictates how large you can go. So let's say int 8. Now this is just an arbitrary, like, for comparison. Like int 8, you might be able to go from -10 to 10, and then int 16 to like -100 to 100. But I mean, that's not actually what it is. It's like 2 to the base of something, and then to the 16. But yeah, basically, with 64 would be the like largest range you can go for a number, and then the 8 is the smallest. And then according to the documentation, it says that these are what is it, infinite range. So yeah, and let's continue. So then we have var favorite show text equals, oh, you know what, I forgot to put opt type. So I guess pretend there's a question mark here, because what this means is it allows for an option for something called null, right? So your favorite show could be a string. Let's say it could either be like, I don't know, Simpsons, or let's say you didn't have a favorite show. It could be a type called null. And having this question mark behind any of these types allows you to make that variable turn into something called null. So we wouldn't have that for an age, right? You're not a null age. And for awake, you wouldn't have a null being awake. Like you're either awake or not awake, but you might not have a favorite show, right? So let's continue. And then finally, the last concept I want to talk about is let and var. So with these vars over here, that means these you can change, right? With let, you can't change it. So once I set it here, it's set. It's like constant. So if I press species and then human, it's done. Like you can't change a human to something else, right? So yeah, I'm gonna say that. You can't actually. Let me move this up here. So if I hit, I don't know what text editor you guys are using, but when I do colon W, that just means it's saving it. So I'm gonna save it, and then I guess to deploy it, you're just gonna go back to the let's see, the root directory. So like the for oh you know this is person. This was another project. Like I was prepping. I need to change the okay human. So the human directory, and then we'll do VFX start. So first you have to start the server. We're doing local deployment, so we don't get bogged down in any of like extra stuff with cycles and whatnot. We're just digging in the syntax. So once it says something like this, open a new tab in the same directory and do let's see, VFX deploy. All right, so it's creating a human. Oof. All right, so syntax here. Why is this? Oh, oops. Well, I don't think I'm supposed to have that. Try that again. All right. Oh, here's the thing. So I guess when I'll put out these slides, I guess when I get the chance. If you're working through this, like watching this video while I don't know trying to implement a person, I guess it's good to flip back between the like high level aspects of everything and try to relate it to like the person that we're creating. So what is one of the properties of these variables? Now it cannot be viewed or modified directly. However, it can be modified by functions or viewed or modified by functions. So what we have to do is we can't access any of these, right? This canister needs to be accessed via function. So we're going to create some functions that will allow us to mess with this, right? So that's it. Okay, here's just another description of everything. And I think when you're following this tutorial, I think it's also best to learn about documentation and click on some of these and read it and try to match it up to like the practice of code, right? So this is all theory. Like if I click on this, it's gonna take us to like the syntax, some of the theory of what is this literal, different ways to write a literal or an integer, different ways to write a natural number. What happens if you overflow? So what happens if you try to set a natural number to a negative or a number that's too big? Yeah, so it's good to try to read through this, figure some things out on your own. Yeah, and I think it's just good for being creative and coding as well. So yeah, let's continue. Okay, so now we're going to implement some functions that allow us to access some of these properties, right? So we'll start, and there's a greet function. I guess you could leave this in here, but so let's say, what do we have? We want to get the height of a person, right? So one of the functions can do is just get a property of actor canister. So let's do it. Public query func get height. And then return height. Right, and then again, going back to the bigger concepts, what are some things canister can do? It can output canister properties, right? So it's going to output one of these properties. The next thing we're going to want to do is to modify one of these properties. Or you know what? Let's actually take a step back and try to see if it works, right? So I think the best thing to do is take things step by step. So we're going to save our program, and we're going to try to run it to make sure that it works each time we create like a small part of it. So I'm going to show you how to do that. You're going to type in dfx. Oh wait, no, first we have to deploy it again. So dfx deploy. It says I'm missing a semicolon, aren't I? Oh yeah. Okay, so I guess good lesson. Semicolons are pain in the butt language because you got to put them after brackets, but it is what it is. So let's do it again. dfx deploy. Oh, die. Is it public query fun? Wait, I gotta back out. Let me see if it deploys. Sync float, then return height. Let's try this again. dfx deploy. Okay, cool. So yeah, I guess it was missing something. Semicolon or colon somewhere. But all right, so now I'm gonna show you how to basically interact with a canister function and indirectly interact with one of its properties. So let's type in let's see, dfx canister call. Then you're gonna type in the name of the canister and then the method. So it's get height, and then hit enter. Okay, great. Right now my height is 0. 0 inches tall, centimeters. I do want to say, if you ever are stuck on what commands to do, you can literally type dfx, and it tells you a bunch of stuff. And I mean, eventually you figure this out just by using it, running through the documentation, some of the tutorial stuff. You type in like dfx canister, and then it tells you more of what to do. So let's say we wanted to call a method deploy from a canister, right? We're like, oh, I'm not sure what to do. I know it relates to a canister. I type in dfx canister, it gives me these list of commands, but then I see, oh, call. So how about I do dfx canister call? And then it says the following arguments were not provided, right? The canister name and the method name. Well, I have those two. I have, well, the canister name is human, and then the method name is get height. And then, yeah, so if you ever need help with that. And then, oh yeah, I should guess explain that you can find the canister name by typing in dfx.json, like that's in the file. That's automatically created with your project. And as you can see, human is one of my canisters here. So that's the canister name. And another canister is human assets. So, all right, so let's just implement the rest of these, and yeah, so we have public. Oh wait, no, we're gonna change woke status now. So we're gonna change whether we're awake to I guess the opposite of whatever we are right now. So now I guess this is a good segue into the keyword query, right? Because this was just reading from one of the properties, we can use query, and query saves like a, I don't know, it means like you don't have to use like resources or anything, you're just reading, right? But when you're actually gonna change one of these canister properties, I believe it uses some resources, and you can't use query. You leave it blank. It's actually called the update method, and I have it a few slides ahead, right? But if you just leave it blank, it's automatically set. But yeah, query is read only. So if you ever want to just access one of these, use query. Otherwise, if you want to mess with anything, then go ahead and just leave it blank. So yeah, we're gonna do public func set height and semicolon, and then here's another thing. We're gonna learn assignment. So what's gonna happen is we're gonna change this height into height right here. And let me format it properly. And we're not going to return anything, so it's just going to be this. So it'll be height, assignment, height. So basically what this is saying is you're putting in, so here, an external variable, right? So these are like external variables, external to the canister. You can throw it into the function, the method, and then you're going to set this height to this. And this is one of the operators. So I'm going to hit enter, or I'm going to save it, and then deploy it. Effects, deploy. I should implement a few of these just to save time. I'm not sure how long left I have, so we're gonna do. We'll change our favorite show. So instead of it being null, we'll change it to something else. So public func, again, we're changing the property canister. So you're gonna change. You're not gonna use query. You're gonna do change favorite show. Then you got show text sync, and then I do want to say something. Whenever, as if we backtrack to when I was talking about what an opt was, when you put a question mark, if this is going to be null, or if this is going to be able to have the potential to be null, this also will have to have the potential to be null as well. So yeah, text and question mark text are two different things, just so you know. So be careful of that. So then we're gonna set favorite show to show. Yeah. And then we'll make one more. We'll make 3 methods, and then or functions. You can call it functions or methods if you're new to programming. It's the same thing. Let's see. We'll also change height. And so public func change. Well, how about we do? How about we add to height instead of just change it? Func. So public func add to height. And height. Okay. So this is wrong. This is like the GitHub Copilot helper thing where it types code for you, but it doesn't have Motoko yet. So yeah. So this is one of the operators where it's like adding. So if this one's setting, this is adding when you got like numbers. It's just different, like different like math operations. So there's minus equal, multiplication equal. Yeah, so if we're gonna save it, and now we're gonna try to run it. And we'll test all of our functions. Okay, great. It went through. And then, so let's try some of the functions that we wrote. Let's see, we'll set, I don't know, we can set our favorite show. So right now we could do DFX canister, call human, and then, well, let's see what let's get our show first. So, oh wait, we need to make a method to get the show. So let's do that actually. Public func get favorite show, async text, and then return favorite show. And you'll be able to see the changes. Yeah, that's that issue with the GitHub thing, GitHub Copilot. Sometimes. But yeah, I made the mistake again where I mixed up my text with an opt text, so it's different, right? Again, you got to keep the question mark. If you're trying to return a type that's has a question mark. So go back here and deploy. All right, and then we'll just do I don't know, DFX canister call get favorite show and canister call human. See, it even tells you again. Something like you got an issue. And then right now the human's favorite show is null. And then we'll go back to here and we're gonna set our favorite show. So change favorite show. DFX canister call human, change favorite show. And watch what happens when I'm just gonna put an error on purpose. See, it needs data, right? So when we're interacting with something that needs external data, you need to put an input type, right? So let's do that. I'll show you how to format it. It's like this if it's text. So let's say Simpsons. And then, oh wait, it says if it's canister call can't be of type. I gotta look that one up. Says type text. I'm gonna look that up. Let's see. Opt. Oh, you know what? That's really weird. If opt text, do I have to change it to?
If any dev mentors on the call know the answer, you can raise your hand.
Oh, okay. Oh wait, I think I got it. Call human, get favorite show. Yeah. So, oh yeah, I guess you got to put opt in front of it. That was I don't know, I forgot that, but yeah. So, yeah, I was able to set it, and so you can essentially do that with all the other properties, and that's kind of the whole point of this. Just I guess see the bigger picture. Essentially what a canister is you got the properties here and the functions allow you to mess with the properties of the canister itself. So I guess I'm gonna stop there since it's been 30 minutes and like 32 minutes. So I guess I'll hop in on a slide and then oh yeah, I mean there's comments too if you wanna make things that aren't part of code. You could just put like hello or like hi, and then it won't be VFX people. So yeah, it won't like look at it. It doesn't do anything. But all right, I guess if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask.
Okay, guys, let's start now with the questions.
Okay.
You'll have to use the raise your hand button if you have a question, and then we'll allow you to speak. You'll have to unmute, and then you can ask your question.
Hello.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? First
Good.
of all, thanks for the session. My question is specifically on regarding the debugger tool. Do we have a debugger tool where we can use that, or it is just the command line that we have to use?
I believe right now it's only developer, or I mean the command line. I haven't used anything else. I guess if anyone else, if there's any other devs in this call, feel free to speak up. But I only use the command line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, Spider, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to kind of clarify what it looks like we're doing here essentially is inside the main, you're creating the list of functions that allow for the interactions to occur. And then over here inside the DFX is where you're actually carrying that out. Is that correct?
Exactly. So this is the program that is like a canister. So yeah, and then when you want to talk to it, yeah, you can you use the command line. Now you can also make canister to canister calls which that's in another lecture. But no, so yeah, you can interact with it via the command line. Yes, that's what I'm doing here. For more advanced usage, there's also interaction with the canister via Candid, which is it's like I guess Definity like created their own like interface that's you can interact with any canister. And then there's also like front end like web. So if I created a front end, I can actually call the canister as well using JavaScript.
Okay, I like that. I just wanted to make sure and clarify because that kind of looked like the flow of the work process there is building out your set of potential functions inside the main file and then actually performing and carrying out everything over in the DFX.
Exactly, that's what I was doing. Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Go ahead, Mark.
Hi, I'm just curious. What if you wanted only the owner to do an update? How would you do it?
Oh, so that's private variables. I believe you change it to private. Oh, actually, let me make it. Try. Let's see. We'll change the age. So private font change. Oh, you know what though? I won't even be able to show you through interaction of DFX, but yeah, you set it to like it's a private variable. So yeah, you change this to private.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Evan.
Yes, hello. Thank you for the session. So I have a question regarding the change favorite show. Regarding the argument, and you have set it as optional. I was wondering if you have set it as optional. Is this because to allow the function to set the favorite show back to null, or is this because mainly how the language work? Like if I declare a variable or a property as optional, I have always, when I interact with it, I have to. Let me rephrase or to ask a more clear question. If I want to declare or create another function called reset, not reset, excuse me. If I want to create a function called change, not change, or without the resetting, I mean, because resetting, yes, I would put it in null. But if I want just to increase or decrease or whatever, there would I will still have to put the argument as optional in the argument.
Oh, function? Yes. So the opt types are different than the like non-opt. So so let's say I wanted to reset favorite show, like what you're saying, right? So are you saying like why can't I just do this? Is that what you? I don't know if you see my screen.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Excuse me for my non-clarity. I would say yes. If I want to make a function called set a favorite show or declare a favorite show, okay. And in this case, let's say that in this case, yes, I will have to put a show because this is what the function is all about, to take a show and assign it to this variable. So in this case, I will still have to put it as optional.
Yes, you will. Yeah, you'll actually get an error if you remove that, and that's part of the language specification. Now I haven't dwelled that deep in the docs. There may be ways to like cast. I don't know. I have to take a look at that, but I know if you just straight up like plug it in, yeah, you have to make it an op type or you will get an error. And I'm not sure if you saw when I was running this, I forgot the op type and tried to deploy it, and I got an error. So yeah, you need to, you know, you need to make sure the types are consistent. Op types versus no op types.
If
All right.
if you did the non-op typed version and just did text, you would not be able to change the favorite show to an empty string.
Oh, say that again.
If you didn't use the opt text, would you be able to change the show to an empty string?
Oh,
or
if
would you?
I did?
Yeah, like if you tried to do the function and that was just a normal text type, would you be able to like you change it to an empty string, or because an empty string is different than null, right?
Yeah, it's different than null. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean, well, no, I'm saying you can't even set it. You can't even like try to set it to a non-op type. You know what I'm saying?
No, I was saying
So-
if you were if the whole like variable was different. Sorry.
Oh, you mean if this was an op type in general, would you be able to set it? You can still set it to an empty string, yes. So let's say you're saying if I had like var favorite ice cream, right? And then it wasn't an op type, I cannot set it to null, right? But I can set it to an empty string. That's okay. An empty string is not an op type. So it's just a string. So if you want to do that, yes, you could set it to an empty string.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
That's okay.
Okay. Okay, Sornab, go ahead.
Hey, so thanks for the presentation, first of all. And I want to ask, what differences does an object, like an object from Java, and a canister have?
Oh, okay. Trying to think. I mean, well, for canisters, you have to deploy them, and it costs like cycles, and I'm not really sure. What do you mean?
All right. I meant canisters are like in structure felt really similar to objects in Java, because like they both have like the things that you can put you can put like variables and objects as well. You can make a list of them. You can put some functions regarding to objects in Java. So like this just felt similar. Also, I also wanted to ask, you like opened up a site that had some basic like variable types and stuff for Motoko on a website, and I couldn't see the link. Can you show what it was?
Yeah, I'll send it. And oh, just to answer your question, yeah, you can make you can make like lists of canisters, and you can import it into files. That's gonna be for another lecture. But yeah, you can do that. That's definitely doable. If you mean like inheritance and all, like object-oriented programming, yeah, actors, or I mean, well, canisters themselves, they're almost like classes, and then when you can inside another canister, and this is actually, as I said, for another lecture, but the way canisters interact with other canisters is you turn this canister into an object, and then you mess with it in a different canister. So yeah,
Oh,
those are that's a possibility. So yeah.
Thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome. But I guess let me post the slides. Maybe I could share it. Let's see. share. Oh, anyone can view it, so I'll just post it in the chat. Let me know if you can't see it. Make sure it's not modifiable. Okay, it's just the viewer. Right. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, go ahead, Jared. Unmute yourself. Jared, go ahead with your question.
Hello, guys. Thanks first for the presentation. My first question is, do we have some code quality checking good practices which we can start to use from the beginning? For example, like static code checking for Motoko. I know that it's implemented by itself for the language, but do we have such, for example, templates for good practices? Like in Python, we have PEP, for example. And that's the most.
Well, for good practices, I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure. I just hack away. Well, I mean, I guess there's always like the basic design good practice that's not really to Motoko. It's like, what is it, like the dry principle? Do not repeat yourself. There's like that soap. There's a lot of, I guess, overarching programming good practice. I'm not exactly sure for Motoko myself. If someone else wants to answer that, feel free.
Yeah, for example, we see here that we can return without indentation in the brackets. We can return with indentation, and in both ways it builds. But for example, maybe the one way is better or not. I mean, from such simple things like, for example, the indentation and such. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You mean just like syntactically, like
Syntactically, yeah, or yeah, maybe if someone is getting to know the Python PEP 8, for example, there are such practice. For example, you write one class per file, or you write one actor per canister, or up to n actors. I mean, such guidelines or things which we can start to follow. Yeah, maybe guidelines for the code, good practices for code architecture and such things.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess I'll start with everything. So the very beginning thing you're talking about, like in Python, like the indentation and stuff, that doesn't matter. So I guess yeah, for this it's like you do the one thing I say to stress is I don't know, like semicolons after the brackets, but it will throw an error. So it'll throw an error. Anything you do wrong, it'll throw an error and kind of tell you. So like, yeah, if you miss something, now yeah, there's indentation doesn't matter, spacing doesn't matter, yeah, stuff like that doesn't matter. Now you said what was your last part about?
for example, do we have some good guideline, some good practice how we develop a canister? For example, how much actors we can add to it, or
I put an actor in, like one actor in a canister.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And just a quick update, everyone. Seb is going to be adding a link to the language style guidelines to the README after this.
Go ahead, Seb.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I've just posted a link to the guideline provided by the Definitive Foundation. And I will also put it on Discord as well.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead, Harsh.
Hi guys, so my question was that suppose there were multiple files and multiple actors and we wanted a particular counter to be global. So how do we go about that in Motoko?
You're saying you want like a global state between all actors?
No, just one counter, let's say, a global variable somehow.
Oh, well, how you would do that with you make your own. So it's not like, so how the internet computer works is like so if I can find a canister in, let's say, I don't know, China or Europe, I'm interacting that. So essentially all canisters are global. If you wanted to make a counter, like your own personal counter, yeah, you just make another canister. There's no like, all canisters are essentially global. Do you get what I'm saying? This isn't just like programming like on Java where all the files, like you have one project and it's like it all interacts. It's like I create this actor, or I create this canister, and then everyone can talk to it.
Yeah, the goal of a canister is to have a separate state from all other canisters. So you cannot like, you can share informations, communicate through messages, but the state of a canister is like, yeah, it's basically its own state, not shared with the rest of the world, except through public functions.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, that's fair.
Go ahead, Long.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I have two questions. Can I cut a variable like to cut float to in or into float?
Say that again.
Can I casting a integer number to float number?
Yeah, you can cast integer to float number. If you see my screen, there's methods to cast. Actually, you can even cast it to a text. See, to text. So yeah. Okay. Now to float. Actually, to float, I've never personally tried that. I don't know if anyone else wants to answer. I mean, there's no, in the documentation it doesn't have it, so.
Yeah. And my question is there any default like global function like console log or something else like that?
Say that again?
Is there any function, global function that I can call like console.log to log my some variable?
Oh, there is a module that you can import. It's called the debug module. Maybe you can show the debug module. It's
yeah. I saw Chef said that. Okay.
yeah, and in the debug module there is a print function. Yeah, you can print something, and the variable will be printed into your local replica. So be careful because it won't be printed. Like if you call the fx canister call the function and you have debug print inside the function, the result won't be accessible through the terminal where you call the function. It will be accessible in the terminal that is running the replica. It's a bit annoying, but that's how it's working.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I'm done.
Okay, Crypto, can you go ahead?
No, I don't have a question anymore, sorry.
Okay. Mark?
Hi, so for example, you have two data types like an int or a float. Will Motoko be able to handle that if you wanted to add those two, or do you have to do something else?
Oh, I've never actually tried that. Maybe Seb or anyone else.
What is the question?
If you wanted to add like an int and a float, do you have to do something else, or will Motoko handle that?
No, so Motoko is really strictly typed. So you cannot you cannot do such things. There are exceptions, but generally you should always try to add like nat with nat, int with int, float with float, text with text. And if you want to convert, you can check in the library. So what is on the screen right now, you have a function to convert like a nat to a text, a float to a nat. All those conversions are possible, but don't do it like without being explicit about it.
Okay, thanks.
Go ahead, Jared. Jared? Okay, go ahead, Serena.
Okay,
Well,
it was the question. It was the question on the difference between shared and public. So I'm not 100% sure about that. I don't know if someone is really aware of that, but I think it's really subtle. I think it's only a syntax difference, and you don't need to worry about it. All public functions are shared, but basically when you create a public function, so usually you don't need to add the shared keyword. The only time you would add the shared keyword is if you want to access the identity of the person that is calling. So it's for another lecture, but if you write public shared message, you can access the caller of the message and you can authenticate who is calling the function. But yeah, don't worry about that. Really, it's not that important. It's just syntax.
Okay, we don't have any more questions. Caller, anything else you want to add?
No, I guess thanks for coming, everybody.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
See you in the
thank
next.
you for the lecture.
Yeah, see you in the next session, guys.
Say
See you guys.
I'll see you. Yeah.